after we finished playing, I came off the stage talking to a few friends, and I could kind of see out of the corner of my eye, there were two, I'll call them little girls, but I'm going to guess 13, 14 years old standing there. And then finally, I was going to go, across the room to go talk to some other people. And as I started to move away, one of them stepped in front of me and said, "Excuse me, can we have your autograph?" And I said, "Well, sure you can." And she said, "I'm sorry, this is all I have for you to sign." And it was a like torn in half paper plate because, they give you the paper plates with the pizza there. So she gave me this half a paper plate and a pen to give her an autograph. And I've never been asked for an autograph before. It was so touching because, we women are still kind of in the minority on stage, in this type of music. And to have a young woman like that in the audience come to me, not the rest of the guys, to me, I thought that was it was really touching that young women are encouraged in seeing other women perform, but just a kind of like yeah, you can be part of this too, you know?
Pam, the same little girls came up to me, but by the time our set was over, they bought a poster
Oh,
and asked me to sign that. and
oh, that's awesome.
and it's funny because that's what I would actually point to as my most meaningful interaction with an
Yeah.
audience member too. And like,
Oh,
yeah, for some similar reasons, I've never been asked for an autograph. Like they genuinely
yeah.
just liked what we did.
Oh, that is awesome. I feel even better about it and more excited about it now.
Hey, my name is Josh. I've loved indie rock for most of my life, and I play guitar in an indie rock band. But I'm also a psychologist, and I think a lot about the intersection of music and the human psyche and social experience. And I'm especially curious about the ways that music can help us find a sense of community and belonging with others, even for those punks and misfits who might rarely find it elsewhere. In this podcast, I'm joined by my lovely wife and bandmate Julia.
Hi.
We have conversations with other musicians and artists about the music we love, the music we make, and the importance of music as a means of connecting with others. This is indeed an indie rock podcast about the music that binds us. Hey everyone, I'm Josh.
And I'm Julia.
Today we're speaking to Steven and Pam from the band Jackie and The Treehorns. So we had the honor of sharing the stage with them for our most recent album release show in August of 2024. So here is a copy of the poster. So at that show, they blew us away. We're really excited to be talking to them. But first, here is a clip of one of my personal favorite songs of theirs called Made You Run. Hey, Steven and Pamela. Thank
Hello.
you both for being here. So we just played a song, Made You Run. Could you just tell us a little bit about that song in particular?
Yeah, I think that song was written probably sometime during the tail end of the pandemic. There was something that told us that this song was going to be a special one, but it seems to really connect with people. So we obviously enjoy playing it, and we seem to close a lot of our shows with it now, and it seems to be one of our more popular songs.
So obviously we shared the stage for our album release.
Yes.
Right? Jackie and The Treehorns.
Great show.
I was listening to Made You Run quite a bit before our gig. And then I remember when you guys played it at that show, it just felt very, felt like a strike of lightning. I don't know. It was like a very powerful experience. Maybe like tear up almost a little bit
Aw,
as an audience member, which was just like, I was not expecting.
wow.
But there's something just like, it's got it's just got like sort of like the it factor, you know what I mean? And the whole thing just has that sort of somber, like clever but somber kind of overtone to it. And combined with the instrumentation, like the layers of it, it's got that just sort of sweeping kind of it to to borrow the parlance of the younger generation, like it's got some real vibes, you know what I mean?
It's a great song to play, and it's really fun to see people getting into it the way that they do when you play it live, you know? It's just it's very exciting and, I don't know. It's a weirdly feel good and feel bad song at the same.
As a lot of great songs are,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
As an audience member, at least, it feels like you're going on a journey. That line in particular, made you look, but that's not hard. Like that part, there's just something so kind of sad about that line, like something trivial, but it's like the that's not hard part struck a chord with me when I heard that initially. It was like because it's saying something about both the person who's writing it, but also the person they're talking about. It just feels like one of those kind of like everyday, but also kind of crushing types of things. If I'm making any sense, like it has a emotional power to it that it might be simple to like shrug off initially, but like it lends itself to that build up that you eventually get to. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of it. Can you guys share a little bit about the band's origin?
It's kind of funny in a way. It just sort of also in a kind of a funny way ties into how Pam and I met. I was in a band from about 2006 to 2008 called Girl Loves Distortion that was based in DC. And around that time, me and another one of the members, we used to host these open mics on U Street, 14th and U, at a place that no longer exists. That was called Polly's. And we used to do that once a month. We'd invite people to be like featured performers. And every time that I would perform, we would always come up with these like really goofy names, based off of like movies and things. So I would never book myself as Steven Rubin. It'd always be like some strange name. So just one week, we came up from the movie The Big Lebowski, the character Jackie Treehorn. I'd get up on there with my acoustic and I would tell these stories like, oh, I'm Jackie of Jackie and The Treehorns, but my backup band couldn't make it. They got caught at customs in Turkey trying to smuggle, illegal this or illegal that. Or this week, the next week, it'd be like, oh, I'm Jackie the Treehorns. My band got caught at the Canadian border. I always make up some funny story about like why my backup band couldn't make it this week. And it just became like a routine. So like fast forward, a little bit, and I contacted, ironically, Frank Caputo, who's the bass player in the band right now. And another guy who I knew kind of played drums had just moved back from New York City. So I said, hey, guys, I just left this sort of like post-punk indie rock band, but I have all these like kind of like Wilco-y acoustic songs, and I kind of want to do something non-post-punk indie rock. I want to do these kind of mellow acoustic-y songs. You guys want to like get together in his living room and like with a drum set and a bass and a guitar, acoustic guitar, and play these songs under the guise of this name Jackie and the Treehorns. And so we started playing, and then of course, it slowly morphed back into like a rock thing. And we played like at the Red and the Black and DC9 and a couple of places. That's around the time where I met Pam at Polly's at one of these open mics. So, because we had a mutual friend that she knew, that I knew, that was performing one night, and I wasn't playing the night, and I met Pam, and the rest is history. And now we're married. And then that band sort of split up because, the drummer had started having some kids. And then so for a couple of years, there was no Jackie and the Treehorns. And then around 2014, I met this guy, Pat Keys, through another project. We were talking, and I said, oh, I used to have this other project, and check out these songs. And I played them for him, and he was just like, holy crap, these are really good songs. We should play it. I said, well, Pam and I have these parties in this basement like every summer. Why don't we like put a project together and just play some of these songs? And we did. Me, him, and this drummer Zach, and we played it, and we loved it so much we reformed the band again. And that was around 2014. And then we went into the studio at Inner Ear with Duns and Tara, and we recorded our first album, like proper album, called Do You Mind If I Wear a Clown Mask, which is a cult classic. And that was released, I think, in 2015. And now basically every year since, we've been releasing an album. So I guess technically the band restarted up around 2014. And there's just been a lot of different members in iterations of the band since, but everybody's still on great terms. And then Pam, after working on with various people around the DC area and various projects and bands, I just one day just said, why don't you just join the Treehorns also? Because she's been singing on all of our albums as like a guest. She's sat in at various shows. And I just figured, she's got so much talent as a singer and as a guitar player and as a keyboardist and as everything. And I just thought it'd be great to have another multi-instrumentalist in the band. And that's where we're at now. And so the current lineup, I mean, all due respect to all the other lineups and all their people, but this is like by far, this is a great lineup. We're all like simpatico and on the same page. And the band is just sort of like smoothly running along right now. We're getting ready to hit the studio next week to record a new EP. So, Pam was on the last album. We finally put out Go Get Your Ghost with all four of us on there, the first proper full album with everybody. So yeah, and that's where we're at. So, the band's been around, I guess, technically since 2009, but like, fully active in the new iteration with the new style since 2014.
I really love that story. Yeah. It's like really nice to hear your story and how like you just like adapted and things changed, and like maybe for a while you didn't really, maybe you take a break but you're still doing music and then it came back together. It just like gives me a lot of hope that like even if like things change, like there's life changes, whatever, like that doesn't mean that you have to give up something completely. So that like definitely made me, I'm glad you told the long version because that made me very happy. The purpose of our podcast is kind of talk about community. And I just noticed in your story, Steven, you mentioned that you were having like parties and stuff. And I'm just curious to hear a little bit about that because it sounds like, yeah, with like also you, I guess, running the open mic and then like holding these parties, that was like a way that you got into the music community. So I'm just like curious to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, Pam, it was at your house too. You take that one.
First of all, the room that you see behind Steve now has always been kind of the music room in this house. I've lived in the house since the beginning of 2022 or so or something, and I've had other bands and projects and stuff like that played down there. But when Steve came and moved in, both of us were in another band, as well as the bass player for Jackie called the Corvids. Steve and I decided we wanted to have a summer party where the Corvids played, and whatever stage of Jackie was then existing would play. And, we tried to find other bands that we were friends with and had them come and play. So everybody just kind of like took a set down there in the basement, which is not much bigger than it actually looks on this video. So it gets pretty, we can clear a lot of stuff out of there, but it got, it gets a little swampy in there when you get like a whole bunch of people, but we got a whole bunch of people kind of, over and over. One year we even had a jazz ensemble play up in the living room where we have an acoustic piano. We've had a good family friend of ours. They had 2 children and they played with their kids as one of the bands one year, which was really, really cool. It lets us, I think, include people who are non-musician type friends of ours, some of whom will come out to our shows, some of whom have other responsibilities in life, and coming out to shows isn't high on their, agenda or their ability to do, as well as bringing in like, a lot of musicians. And so it's nice to sort of have all those people into the house and just having a great time, playing together. We've also done a thing where we just had like a big jam where that's more like, just musicians coming together and people just get in that room and just pick up whatever. And, it'd be great to kind of resurrect those parties now and maybe, include some of our newer musician friends as well. So
I'd come. Did you find it like hard to get people to come out and stuff, or was it just kind of a natural thing? Like, how does because Josh and I obviously have been talking about like community and stuff, and just like how do you incentivize people to like show up? Because I feel like that's like sometimes the biggest hurdle.
Food.
Noted.
Yeah, we got pretty notorious for having like a really good spread at the house with food. Pam and I didn't hold back, and we had a very close friend that was is a brewer, and for a while there, he used to bring he would brew beer and bring over like a couple of half kegs of his beer. And people were really also a lot of people who would come were very good at making dishes of food. I mean, Pam and I would supply a lot of good food too. Yeah. We feel like, you said adulting. It's like, we were at the age where like, we're not just buying potato chips and pretzels. So people would come here, they're like, wait, there's like tons of free booze and like a whole liquor cabinet and like a whole like wedding spread of food here, and there's like 6 bands in your basement and a funk jazz trio in your living room, and you have a big deck out back and a backyard, and it's like 90 to 80 degrees out in August. It felt like we had to get around. Sometimes we'd have like 60, 70, 80 people throughout the day, not all at once, just sort of start the party at 4, it would end at midnight. And like you'd have people coming throughout the day and have people staying over. We had you had to get around and host, and we feel bad. Next day we wake up and be like, did you speak to everybody? Did we get to talk to everybody? I feel bad. I didn't get to speak to this person. They came here, but everybody is sort of like, very respectful of the house. And like you wake up, it wasn't like people were like, college people were throwing up all over the place or anything. If anybody was throwing up, it was usually me in the backyard, but I have a secret spot where I go where no one's going to see me. Because I know the backyard and we have a big holly tree back there. But so it was always fun. And what I really enjoyed about it, which Pam talked about a little bit, was like people would bring a lot of times bring like their, tween or teenage kids who maybe like, even though most of our shows are all ages, maybe like they wouldn't want to bring their kids maybe to like, a pie shop or something. And so they would come here, and just sometimes like seeing the looks on these kids' faces, like, when you're playing and they're like 2 feet away from the guitar, and they just have this look on their face of like, I've never seen, to them, they think you're like a rock star, even though you're not. They think to them, you might as well be, whoever they're in their mind. I don't know who they think rock stars are, but you're their Jimmy Page, it's like to them, and they're right there, and their parents would come up to you afterwards and be like, oh my God, now they want to play guitar, or they want to play piano, or they want to play drums, because it's like they can sit there and touch it, or, it's like right there for them. And that was really always inspiring.
I think that's a thing too. I kind of alluded to it before, that you were just asking about how do you get people, to come to that kind of a thing. There are, as you mature, many of your audience members or friends who would come to shows, they get other stuff going on in life. They're married, they have kids, they have other obligations. And so, when you're talking about like, hey, we're going to play at, 11 p.m. on a Friday night at the end of the work week and such a, a bar downtown or a club downtown, come, please come. And yeah. I think that's really, honestly, it's really tough for a lot of people to be able to make that. It's not that they don't care and they're not interested, but if they have an opportunity to do something a little more casual where, yeah, we can bring the kids and let them run around in the backyard, and we can just, or maybe it's just not their thing anymore. They're just at a point in life, kids or no, where they're not interested in, standing for a couple of hours to watch a loud band play at the end of the week. But they still are interested in what you're doing. And so it's never been a problem to get people to come over here. It's a different, it's a different experience. It's a different environment, certainly, than playing in a club. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the parties sound amazing. And I'm with Julia. Yeah, if we were ever invited, we'd totally go. But that's always been like something that I've wanted to do, which is like, just like a little house show and have like that kind of experience. But it sounds like you guys have perfected it.
Yeah.
The spreads, the beer, all of that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's so cool. I like need to take cool lessons from you because I feel like I I was like, oh my god, it's like my like new goal for like several years out. Like I hope that like you fool can like, be
You,
like Jackie and the Treehorns, like we like have longevity, have some
Yeah.
changes, and then hold really cool house parties.
love it. Love it.
Sorry, I was just going to say something that you just said about like longevity and, you want UFOL to be around years from now. I think it's a really valuable thing when you find, people who pretty much want kind of like the same things that you want in terms of the commitment level. Because, I mean, there are many musicians around that have all sorts of different, things that they want to do, that they want to achieve with their music. And some people want to play in a band and have a regular, like a really solid, we're practicing every week or we're rehearsing each week and everybody's very reliable and you really build something. And some people, and this is not, nothing bad at all, and I don't mean it to sound this way, but some people are really stimulated by, I think, working with some people here and some people there and some other people over there and, just project to project and different projects. And I've certainly done, and Steve has as well, like different kind of one-off projects like that. But there is something really valuable and just really, really nice if one of the things that you want is that longevity, that ability to really like rely on the others in the band to, be committed and to play with you on a very regular basis. I think that really, it helps you grow personally as a musician. It helps the music of the band grow. And it's just a really, really nice thing,
And there's been many times where I have texted a friend and said something along the lines of, like, how cool is my life? Right now, my wife is upstairs practicing a Black Sabbath riff. What is yours doing? Or like, my wife's upstairs trying out, researching fuzz pedals, or something, like, and I'll just say, this is pretty cool, huh?
I'm gonna be changing the subject here a
Okay.
little bit. When you guys are writing songs and or like putting together set lists and stuff, do you ever think about like, this song, we really like it, but maybe we won't add it to a set list in the future, but or maybe we will. Like, does that ever really factor into what you're doing or how you're doing stuff? Because, and the second part, I guess, to the question is part of the reason I'm really curious from your perspective is like you guys have like a fairly sophisticated, you have like, I don't really even know what some of the stuff the technology you guys use on stages, like sequencers or whatever. Like you guys got a few different things up your sleeve for your live setting to like, to bring in a whole bunch of different sounds. And I guess I'm kind of curious if you've sort of invested in that kind of stuff to like broaden the array of what is possible in a live setting, or if you could just sort of like talk through what that means for your songwriting and set building.
Yeah, in the first part, I mean, we absolutely factor in what you're saying in terms of like the style of the song and whether we would play it live in front of an audience. I think Pam was talking earlier about a specific song called Fringe
Yeah.
that I've had a lot of people tell me, like Brian and I recorded that song before Frank and Pam were in the band. And like, we love that song. Like I'm very proud of that song. It has like a cello in it in the studio, and it's like a very cool song. I've had a lot of people tell me they love the singing on it, they love the lyrics, they love the style. It's very different. It's on like a very rock album of ours, but it's like this slow kind of dreamy song in the middle of it. That's like breaks the album up, but it's like a song we don't ever play live because it would just like bring the audience down. It's so quiet. And so like we never, like we maybe played it live at the album release party, but like you can't play that at like a bar or a club because it just wouldn't work. Now, if we were playing somewhere that was more like a performance place, like where people are sitting down and watching you play, like at a theater or like even somewhere like Galactic Panther or something where it's like people are just quiet and watching you play, maybe you would factor in and say, okay, that's a kind of place we can play a quieter song with more dynamics. And we have done that at places like that. As for the gear, that you're talking about. We absolutely implement a lot of that stuff. More recently, because Brian, our drummer, he's such a phenomenal drummer, that we can now play live, and everybody in the band has just been has such talent. I feel like that we can play live to click tracks now, which enables us to use loops when we need to.
Right.
So we can throw in, sequencing and loops for some of the songs that we've done in the studio where we use loops, but now we can do that live. So it's opened up a tremendous amount of space for us to explore sonically. As a songwriter now, I know now we can do this live. I don't have to worry about this anymore. Yeah. I mean, you've played with us, we have a lot going on stage sometimes with sound,
Yeah.
But I love that because I love bands that have really full sounds, but then some songs that kind of go down to nothing. I love dynamics, and one of the things I like to take pride in with this band is that at minimum, I don't expect everybody to like every one of our songs or even have to like the band. I want people to at least walk away and go, look, they're a good band, they're a tight band, and all their songs don't sound the same. They explore a lot of different sonic places. I like songs that create moods, and I feel like with all that technology we're implementing, we can create moods.
There are moments, especially when you've gotten the multiple layers going and it's all just fitting together so nicely, but then seeing there's so much more sound coming from that stage than what you'd expect from the people that are on the stage, right? Because you have these layers and these loopings that are happening. It's like a sense of awe, So sometimes when you get that kind of wall of sound and because of the precision with what's being played too, it's just it's a really cool dynamic. I was like, wow, you guys implemented that so well, and I was blown away by it.
Thank you.
Is there anything that stands out to you as what you would say is the most meaningful interaction you've had with either a listener or an audience member?
I have one. So the show that we played with you guys at Jam and Java, after we finished playing, I came off the stage and I was standing there talking to a few friends, and I could kind of see out of the corner of my eye, there were two, I'll call them little girls, but I'm going to guess 13, 14 years old standing there. And they were kind of just lurking around, and, I could kind of see they would catch my eye a little bit. And when I looked over at them, they would kind of look away. And then finally, I was going to go, across the room to go talk to some other people. And as I started to move away, one of them stepped in front of me and said, "Excuse me, can we have your autograph?" And I said, "Well, sure you can." And she said, "I'm sorry, this is all I have for you to sign." And it was a torn in half paper plate, because they give you the paper plates with the pizza there. So she gave me this half a paper plate and a pen to give her an autograph. And I've never been asked for an autograph before. I haven't seen anybody in any band that I've played with get asked for an autograph, but it was so touching because, we women are still kind of in the minority on stage, in this type of music. And to have a young woman like that in the audience come to me, not the rest of the guys, to me. I thought that was it was really touching that young women are encouraged in seeing other women perform. And, but just a kind of you can be part of this too. I think is just so nice. Yeah.
Pam, the same little girls came up to me, but by the time our set was over, they bought a poster and asked me to sign that.
That's awesome.
And it's funny because that's what I would actually point to as my most meaningful interaction with an audience member too. And for some similar reasons, I've never been asked for an autograph. These were two kids genuinely just liked what we did.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
They came up to, it's funny. As soon as you started saying there were these two little girls, I was like, oh my God, you too. Yeah. That's great.
Oh, that is awesome. I feel even better about it and more excited about it now.
I think I mean, mine's not an autograph thing, but it does involve younger adult. So we were playing a show at Arlington Independent Media, and had the stage set up, and I had my pedal board out, and a few people had brought their teenage and younger children with them. And I didn't actually know who, I think it was our bass player's friends. So I didn't know who these kids were. And I was not in the room at the time where the stage was. I came back in and I saw all these kids standing on the stage around my pedal board, looking at my pedal board like they had no idea what it was. And they're standing up there looking at it, which actually most people look at it and have no idea what it is. Even other guitar players are like, what is this thing? And I basically was like, I'm going to give these kids I'm going to blow their minds right now. So I went up there and I grabbed my guitar and I plugged in to my amp, and I basically like turned on my amp and I started demoing all my pedals, which I've got a whole bunch of like weird pedals with like delays and reverbs and all these weird sounds, and just turned on my guitar and just started, I have a looper on there and all these crazy things. And I started just basically showing them all these sounds I can make with my guitar. I wasn't even playing the guitar. I was just making like really crazy sounds and looping it. They were just fascinated. They were just floored. Like one little girl was just sitting down, like looking at the pedals, watching the guitar. Like, how'd you do that? What'd you do? So I would just like tell them, like, I'd put my finger on a string. I'd like, here, hit the string. And then they'd do it and they'd like freak out because they could like, do it. I'm just like giving them little lessons. I'm like, hit that pedal, take your foot and hit that, and like, they couldn't believe that they were like responsible for making these sounds. That was one of my more memorable moments, honestly, because I feel like it was like my moment to sort of blow some minds and teach a little bit. And for me, like Pam said, you hope sort of inspire the next generation of kids to maybe like they go home and they're like, that was so cool, I want to do that. Or even I think back to when I was around that age where I grew up, there were so many like heavy metal, hard rock bands. And I think back now that were like my early influences of like, I want to do that. I want to be like that. I want to be in a band. I want to perform in front of people. I want to write songs, or my older brother's friends who played guitar, and I'd sit in their bedrooms and watch them play like, Van Halen songs. And I'd be like, I want to learn how to play guitar. And, so I think back now 40 years later or whatever, and I think like, oh my God, like how the early influence of things that just like stick in my mind. So hopefully, maybe these kids forgot about it and they don't even care about guitar anymore, but maybe like just a little bit of that gets seeped into their brain, and they go home and, they want to start taking piano lessons or drum or guitar lessons or something. And then they start getting into music because they saw how cool it was or how fun it could be. And not just it's just, is it just scales and then all the trouble, the hard part of it, So, yeah. So you just, you hope you influence some people. And I find that to be inspiring if you influence other people, because, I feel like there's just sometimes too much competition in music, and I've never looked at music as competition. And you say, like, you keep talking about community, and that's the way I look at it, is like supporting each other and being influenced and inspired by other people versus being like, this person's better than this person, or this, this is why I hate, numbers, like this person has this many streams versus this many likes versus this or that. I think I heard a comedian say, compare and despair. I just feel like you shouldn't be doing that. It's not about like a battle of the bands or who has more likes or who has more streams. It's just like supporting each other. And it's not about who's better or worse or who's, it's like you see somebody you like, it should inspire you to play, not like bring you down. Like you said earlier, like, it's something I want to strive to do. It shouldn't be like, oh man, damn, they're doing that. I suck. Or, oh man, this sucks. It's like, you should like, it's like, I see somebody who's really good, I get like inspired and I want to do it myself. So I'm hoping that these moments where these girls ask you for your autograph, then maybe they go home and they're like, I want to go do that now, so, and one day someone will ask them for their autographs, or you'll go to their show and you'll get their autographs.
I I really love what you said there about like the perspective of not viewing it as a competition, instead looking at it as a community. I feel like myself, I've been on a little bit of a journey with this, because I would say when we first started making music, I probably did view it a little bit more like keeping up with the Benjamins type of thing.
Hmm.
Um, for instance, a lot of the bands that I would listen to, like bigger bands, I would sort of joke sometimes, or even like, I guess you could use the word despair in some ways, of like, oh, I'll never look like, or be cool like Julian Casablancas from the Strokes or something, like, you know what I mean? And I'm never gonna play like Jimmy Page or whatever. And it's easy to fall in that like hole of thinking like, well, because I'm not like these other people who are successful and who do things the way that I enjoy, that like it means something inherently negative and problematic about myself or my playing or whatever. Uh, but I feel like over the course of us playing, I don't know, Julia, if you would agree with this too, but I feel like we started to really find our groove as a band when we started to realize that part of what I think is um, influential or powerful about our presence in our music and our band, which is probably true for many bands, I would think, but I'd maybe just learned it a little bit later. But the idea of just sort of like being a normal person and just sort of trying to express what you want to express, but know that, you know, there's unique, distinct things that you are bringing to the table that those others aren't. And it's not necessarily like a better or worse type of situation. It's just different. But I think that this mindset of like just looking at it as a community and looking at as more aspirational and trying to just accomplish what we're all trying to accomplish, which is just sort of like express ourselves, make music together that we hope other people will react to and enjoy. There's so much about our world right now that's driven by like algorithms and numbers and competition and whatever. And um, part of the joy of having conversations like these, I think, is just appreciating those ways of breaking out of that kind of trap of feeling like you need to sort of do this and this and this in order to get ahead of someone else, because that's really not what it's about, to your point. I feel like the most beneficial and nicest things with the interactions and the playing music has been something that feels a little more like you've imparted something to someone, even if those younger girls ask for autographs, even if they don't end up picking up a guitar or a microphone, you know, maybe they'll listen to other indie and alternative rock and they'll become, fans of guitar-based music, which is in and of itself like a dwindling community. And so having those experiences of championing, independent music and local music and whatever, like those are all wins, even if they don't pick up a guitar themselves. So it, we could take the win.
Dropped from his label, Tramp Stamp Records, and no longer with backup band The Treehorns, Jackie's career had hit rock bottom. Starlet, once an A-list model and actress, was relegated to D-movie roles and failed reality shows.
So, the Jackie movie, do tell. Just, I mean, we watched it and we couldn't stop making full release jokes for the entirety of band practice. And just, yeah, if you could tell our listeners, like, what is it? What's the story behind it? And is there a Jackie 2 in the works?
Well, I have to give credit to my fellow producer, director, writer, Victor Nolasco here. He was our both of ours good friend. He's a guy I went to college with and has moved away since, but he was the guy who helped me conceptualize the movie as well as Pam, who was the star of the movie. He was the one who also helped me come up with the name of the band, essentially, back when we started the band. And we were living in Mount Pleasant at that time in DC, and we just kept making all these jokes and stories and, about Jackie and all these ideas and all these things. And then when they're like, let's just get all our friends to make like this stupid, like behind the music / Spinal Tap / mockumentary about this guy who thinks he's like the biggest rock star in the world, but he's not, but yet he is, but yet he's not, but he won't actually even be in the movie. Like Jackie's not even in the movie. So I just somehow convinced all my friends and Pam and everybody else and Victor, we wrote a script and got some of our friends to sort of act out all like a mockumentary style movie, and put it together. I think we filmed it over the course of, I don't know, 6 or 8 months and edited it together. And then we rented out the E Street Cinema for a premiere one night, and we rented the smallest theater, which was like 30 seats, and we sold out all the tickets. And then we rented the next theater up, sold out all the tickets, rented the next theater up. So we ended up, it was like November 2013, and we sold like the biggest theater there. We sold out all the tickets. We had a premiere event. It was one of like the greatest nights ever. We had like a premiere at the one night only. The place was packed, like with all our friends. I don't know how we did it, but like, oh yeah, I took them all out to dinner, went to the movie. We gave a little speech before the movie. Victor and I and Pam and Victor's wife pregnant wife at the time, sat in the way, way back row of the theater because we were just so nervous that nobody was going to laugh at anything or any of the jokes. We were just like, oh my, no one's going to laugh at anything. No one's going to think anything's funny. And we sat in the back row, and like after the first minute or two, people were cracking up like nonstop. We were like, all right, we let out a deep breath. And just like, it was a resounding success. And like, it just, and then people loved it. And even though half the audio went out halfway through the movie. And then we did actually start filming the Jackie movie too, and got about halfway done. And then for multiple reasons, it just never got finished. Just we bit off more than we could chew. And so we never like put it together and released it. But I have to say, I'm not just saying it, but Pam's role as Starlet Treehorn was just, I feel like and our friend Mark Terranova, who played Django Treehorn,
Yeah.
were just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And we did it with no budget. We really didn't really know what we were doing. And it was just a lot of fun.
I was just going to say, we got so lucky that we had so many people, so many friends, some of whom were other musicians, many of whom were not, coworkers, just people we knew who were just totally fine. They're totally down with like, yeah, I'll be in the movie. Like, because I thought it would be kind of hard maybe to recruit people because they'd be like, oh, I don't know. I don't like looking at myself on screen or whatever. And it was... people were just so like excited to participate in it. That made it, I think, really, really a lot of fun. And I don't know.
I would love
community.
I would almost love to do one now, like with all these new people that we know, and rewrite it like now, because there's so many new like modern things that weren't around back then. TikTok and social media and all that kind of stuff, and streaming royalties, and like there's just so much new material that wasn't available to us back then that we could totally spoof on. It was a lot of fun. It was great. It was a good time, and it was totally meant to be a joke. Everything in it is, every line of that movie is basically a joke.
Yeah.
So we basically tried to put it together in 3 acts, like the classic, like behind the music, like Jackie's rise, Jackie's parties, the Jackie fall, the whole classic, like making fun of the rock star thing, but yeah, so.
It was really funny.
Thank you.
Yeah, we watched it, and we support the idea if you guys revisit it to do a sequel.
You may find yourself requested to.
You might be in it. Yeah. You might be interviewed for it. Yeah.
No problems. Last question that I have, pretty straightforward one, but what are you most excited for in the future for the band?
I think, to me, just like writing new songs and just continuing to evolve, the sound of Jackie and getting the opportunity to experiment, and of course, playing a lot of great shows with a lot of great bands. That's what, I don't know, is exciting to me.
Yeah, the same. I mean, for me, it's always about the next bit of music. Obviously, I'm excited to get in the studio next weekend and record a new EP, and release some new music. I mean, I always love playing live shows, um, especially with, bands like you all that we enjoy, friends, good people, and that also play good music is
Yeah.
such a great thing. I feel like we've met a lot of great new bands over the last couple of years. I mean, the first few years we were playing, we would play with bands, and like, you play one gig and then never like see them again, and play with another band, never see them again. And now, like, I feel like there's like this little community of bands that we've met over the last couple of years that, like, we've played multiple times with, and we genuinely like the people and the music. It's like a great combo. And so I look forward to continuing to play with bands like that. And it's always about the new music. So I'm looking forward to just getting this EP out, and then sort of like, sitting down and maybe getting some new songs written, and seeing like where the next stage of the sound goes, because our sound has just constantly changed over the years from different things. And I'm curious to just keep hearing everybody else's contribution to the sound and the writing and everything, and just seeing where we can go next. I think that we're very realistic in what all of our expectations are. I think that we love playing around here. I think we know we're not going to be, the next U2 and playing at the Sphere anytime soon or anything. Not that, Bono, if you want to give me a ring, go ahead. I'm just saying, like,
Bono's a big follower of this podcast.
Yeah, right. Hey, Edge, if you need me, I'm here. But I'm just saying, like, we do this just because we love doing it. We do it because we love playing music. So, I think we all just want to continue doing what we're doing, just playing good gigs and playing good music. And, so that's really it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. What you said about just like great people making great music, like when that happens, that's just like a phenomenal experience. And we've done the same of like meeting some bands that we've just enjoyed sharing the stage with so much that you just try to line up, multiple shows with those bands and keep playing, because it's just like it's a fun experience, and I think hopefully fun experience for the listener too. Yeah, and look forward to sharing the stage with you guys again.
Absolutely.
In the near future. So thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Julia, we just spoke to Steven and Pam from Jackie and The Treehorns. What'd you think?
That was so much fun. I already thought they were super cool, but just hearing their whole history and all of the things they've done, like, oh my God, these guys are so cool. Like, yeah, like their house parties, like they hosted an open mic. They're like renting out the East Street Cinema for the Jackie movie and selling out like the largest theater. I can't believe it. So yeah, they just have such a cool like history, and they clearly are, have been really committed to building community and know how to get people together. And so yeah, this is super fun, and it makes me just like, yeah, just I don't know, I feel like it gives me like new perspective and hope for like, our future as a band, just to see a band that's like has had so many changes but still has managed to like hold on and have longevity. It was so cool. It made me very happy.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say for those who are listening who maybe aren't so familiar with Jackie and the Treehorns, couple of recommendations. First, listen to the entirety of Made You Run. We played a clip of it at the start of the show. Be sure to listen to that song. I think it's just phenomenal. Second, check out the Jackie movie. So we'll provide a link for it in the description. It is hilarious. It's just such a goofy mockumentary. If you're a fan of fan of music, fan of like This Is Spinal Tap type of movies, it's really worth seeing. And thirdly, see them live. Really talented musicians with just like really cool songs and just like a dynamic presence and dynamic sound. It's really worth the experience, the ticket price. So hope you enjoyed. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And see you next time.